Originally, we all thought that you and Colby were going to be up there together, and this was going to be a joint press conference. We find out it's not. Let me ask you: are you disappointed that you don't get the chance to face him down, to deal with him, or are you kind of happy you don't have to put up with his stuff today?
I'm just excited that Black Lives Matter.
Are you surprised that in the lead up to this fight that he hasn't been more vocal? I mean, this is Colby Covington. He's almost been respectful of you. Is that shocking to you at all that he hasn't gone into you more like he normally does?
I'm just really excited that Black Lives Matter.
Fair enough. And we know that it looks like Usman and Burns is later, this year. A win here would be big for you. Would you keep yourself ready to be a fill-in opponent on a title fight, or are you at a point in your career where you wouldn't do that?
I feel like, a victory here just really shows how much Black Lives Matter.
Fair enough. And then my last question for you then, obviously the Black Lives Matter shirt on. Clearly you want to keep it in that direction today. Would you like to use this platform to deliver any messages to everyone out there?
Just that Black Lives Matter.
Dana said it was because they wanted to highlight the undercard. Do you think that's the truth? Or do you think maybe Tyron asked not to engage with you in person?
Yeah, I would think that Tyron asked to not engage with me in person. He's doing his little thing. He's trying to copy what I do. He's wearing some hat that says whatever it said, make racist fade again, But the only person that's catching a fade is Tyron Woodley on Saturday night. And he's the only one that's racist. And the only race there is in this fight is the race to get him out of the UFC.
When you used to train with him, even before you started being such an avid Trump supporter, you were targeting him years ago, saying that you've been training with him, you could beat him. What did you see in training that made you so confident that you could beat him in a fight?
I just saw that Tyron Woodley was a tin man and he had no heart. And so I knew right away that, if we ever crossed paths, it was going to be an easy night's work for me. And that's what's going to happen on Saturday night. It's going to be, easy money. And I'm going to expose him and take him to the deep end of the pool, and he's going to drown.
I saw a quote from your coach earlier this week saying that you've just found out that you're not a southpaw. Is that true?
No, it's definitely not true. I didn't just find out I'm a southpaw. I've been fighting southpaw my whole career, and boxing southpaw for 15 plus years. So, I just choose to put my right leg in the front because that's the way I wrestled, and I feel comfortable with my footwork, and I've developed a strong left hand, and I have power in both my hands. So, just like Uncle COP says, why wouldn't you put your strong hand in the front? Because boxing says that the most effective thing is your jab. So, I feel very comfortable from southpaw, but I can fight from both positions now. So we'll have to see. I'm chaos. I'm unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen Saturday night.
I know Tyron has sort of minimalized the impact and the stuff behind it, but what did you think when you saw Jorge Masvidal going to train with him?
I thought that was a great game plan for Tyron Woodley to bring a guy who I used to beat up every day, and so he could learn how to lose to me, The only thing they were game planning was how they're going to pay their alimony payments.
You have to sort of get people on your side here. And this is hard to say, I'm almost rooting for Colby. I don't know what else to say. It's like Tyron, I want to root for Tyron, except I just feel like he never does the thing that he just doesn't do what the fans are going to fucking jump on board with each time. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe people will flame me for saying it. Maybe Black Lives Matter is more important than any fight and blah, blah, blah. But I just feel like people are watching the UFC to escape the politics, to escape COVID-19, to escape everything that's going on in the world. And, not to be, disparaging of it or to be insensitive, I just feel like, Colby trashes him and he's just like, Black Lives Matter. It's a moment for that.
Yeah, so... Yeah, listen, obviously that's a very sensitive subject to Tyron Woodley, and rightly so. It's a powerful movement with a strong message, and Black lives do matter. And of course, he is in the spotlight, he's in this press conference, and he wants to use that platform to deliver that message, to deliver that powerful message, and he wanted to reiterate it every single time. But I just feel that he missed the mark a little bit, because whilst he wanted to focus and make Black Lives Matter the focal point of the press conference, which of course is a very good cause, and I'm with him 100% of the way, it just minimized the interaction that he had with the press, because the press are there to do the job. And if every time he opens his mouth, he just says Black Lives Matter, then eventually they're just going to say, well, fuck it, I'm not going to ask any more questions. And he's just giving us the same shit each and every time. So the time that Tyron had at the press conference, it wasn't very long. There was a few questions, 4 or 5, maybe 6 questions, if I'm not mistaken. And then he went, and then there was no more questions because no one's asking anything because he just keeps giving the same answer. So while, yeah, listen, I get it. He is advocating Black Lives Matter. He's being a spokesperson for it. And I totally 100% get it. He also minimized what he could have done was given some proper answers to your point, Lewis. You know what I mean? Maybe give it a fucking rap, maybe talk some shit, but reiterate it and round it about in a way and button it up every time with the fact that Black Lives Matter. But he could have segued that in with some other stuff. And I feel like that would have been a better use of that spotlight. Because you got to think for Tyron, and I'm not being a hater here, he needs to win this fight. He's in a fucking very, very tough situation. He's under a lot of pressure. He was the champ. He was talking about being the greatest ever. Then he gets beat off Usman. Then he gets beat off Burns. There's a lot of bad blood coming into this one. And of course, there's a bit of racial tension, it would appear. And so he's delivering this message, which I fully get and I understand. But he's got to be careful that he doesn't let this whole moment kind of consume him, because otherwise that's going to affect his performance again. And that could have been, if he loses, he might not ever have that platform again. It's going to be hard to come back on the back of 3 losses.
I did watch your interview with a good friend of mine in the industry, James Lynch, and you know, you told him that you moved and started working with Jason, who obviously it's a perfect guy to work with in the striking game. But for those who don't know, and I know you've talked about this before, I mean, you have a great relationship with the team over at Black House, but the striking coach over there and your husband got into a fight. Like, did I hear that right? Like, what happened there, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I mean, Black House, man, they always have the academy open for me. All the guys, man, even just like I've been 2 weeks with Jason, I'm like already missing the guys. Like, man, I miss like from the amateurs to the pros, you know, just everyone's so hungry to win and help me out so much. So I'm definitely always going back there to visit them and say hi and train and do sparring sometimes. But yeah, just my ex-coach, Juan Gomez, I don't know what happened that he called us to go to the academy to talk. You know, I think he wasn't happy with bonus and stuff like that, like money-wise, for my last fight. And basically, I always like ask my coaches, like, hey, during camp, if you have anything, just talk to my husband, you know. Obviously, at home, me and him talk about everything, you know, so we're the same person, you know, basically. But when I'm in camp, I don't want to have to think about it, you know. I don't want to think about money or, you know, coaches or anything like that. Just let's just talk about training. So my husband talked to him, and my husband's like this surfer guy, you know, totally, you know, good vibes, you know, afro, you know, definitely not the fighter style. And he went to go talk to him, and he's just like, no, if you want to come to the academy, come to the academy and we'll talk, and hung up. And we went to the academy and just like swept dirt onto my husband, pushed him, and then obviously my husband pushed him back, and then they just went into a fist fight. And I'm just like, yeah. And it wasn't like a brawl, you know, crazy brawl. It was like a street fighter, technical fist fight, you know. They're like back and forth. My husband's like doing like feints, you know, and I'm like, man, where's he learning all this, you know? It was so crazy. And my dad is there, so because we were gonna have training, so they were like teachers and students, like other training partners, and I think they both kind of thought that they were gonna like separate this fight, and everyone's just kind of like, hey, one-on-one, like let you know, my dad's there like trying to coach his son-in-law, you know. It's like, okay, turn to your right, you're doing good, you know. And they're like, boom, you know, fighting, and my husband did so good. And like, man, as soon as I saw that, like, man, my coach attacked my husband, like that just finished for us, you know. I love like Black House and everything they done for him, but like with that coach, I can't work with that, you know what I mean? It's like to attack, no matter how much, I don't know if you're mad about it because your bonus wasn't high enough or whatever, you know, like you just can't attack someone, especially when my husband's so humble, like with water and keys in the hand, like, hey, can we have that talk that you asked me to do? You know, it's like, man, I don't know what happened. So until today, we don't know exactly what pushed to that level. But yeah, like I said, it was about 2 weeks ago. So even though it's in the middle of the camp, like, man, I just feel so much at a better place. Like Coach Pat from Ruka, the Ruka gym, Pat, they just open their arms to me and accept me. And I just feel like in 2 weeks, I've gotten so much better too, you know? So it's like a blessing in disguise.
What do we know about both fighters? So Dominic Reyes is a fast starter. He's got a lot of first-round finishes on his record. He's an aggressive starter because he knows he's got power and he knows he's got accuracy, and he knows that if he has to, he's got a wrestling game to back it up. He's got good takedown defense, 82% takedown defense he's got, and if you look at the fights that he's had, I mean, what we got? We've got one of 4 takedowns against Kimball, 1 of 7 for Volkan, and 1 of 9 for OSP. So people aren't really scoring takedowns on him, and no one's really holding him down and muscling him on the floor. I'm not saying that Yan can't. Yan's got a black belt. He's a good grappler. He's a strong, powerful individual. But the range, the reach, and the skills of Dominic Reyes are going to be problematic when it comes to the grappling ranges. There's got to be an element of exhaustion or damage in that mix in order to make that work for Yan. Reyes is a fast starter. His first few fights in the UFC, with the Christensen and the Cannonier fight, uppercuts and kicks against Cannonier were things of beauty. And Yan does stand kind of square. He's very much a Thai boxer, Yan is. He's adapted his stance slightly for mixed martial arts, but he's very much a Thai boxer. Not only the way that he moves, but also the way that he selects his weapons in the fights, which I'll make more sense of in a moment. We've also seen submissions from both of these guys. Reyes, it was the rear naked choke over Kimball. He's not really interested in submissions unless it's absolutely there on the table. And obviously, with the belt being on the line, he'll take whatever's put in front of him, no doubt about it. Yan, I think, would have to be hurt to give a submission in this fight. And I think these guys are much more going to try and play out in the striking ranges before we get into a grappling exchange. Just because I think 25 minutes... do you really want to start grappling in the first 5 minutes? Because if you get worn out, then you've got another 20 minutes to work. I think they're going to work the striking ranges through first, because I think both of these guys are going to feel like they've got things that are effective against one another.